Today, Idiogascar gives you an epic piece of knowledge on one of the numerous names of the Hindu god Shiva. This piece enlightens us on the name Lingeshwara, which is one of the most famous name of Lord Shiva. All said and done, now let's quickly dive into the story. One day a sculptor was given a rock and asked to carve an image of God. He tried to imagine a form that would best encapsulate God. If he carved a plant, he would exclude animals and humans. If he carved an animal, he would exclude humans and plants. If he carved a human, he would exclude plants and animals. If he carved a male, he would exclude the female. If he carved a female, he would exclude all males. God, he believed, was the container of all forms. And the only way to create this container was by creating no form. Or maybe God is beyond all forms, but a form is needed to access even this idea. Overwhelmed by these thoughts, the sculptor left the stone as it was and bowed before it. This was the linga, the container of infinity, the form of the formless, the tangible that provokes insight into the intangible. The name given to God was Shiva, which means the pure one, purified of all forms. Shiva means that which is transcendent. Shiva means God who cannot be contained by space or time, God who needs no form. Shiva has been visualized as an icicle in a cave in Amarnath, Jammu as a natural rock formation rising up from the earth, as in Budha Kedar at Tehri, Uttarakhand or Lingaraja, Bhubaneswar, Odisha as a smooth oval stone from the river bed of Narmada placed in a metal trough as in Kashi Vishwanath, Varanasi, or a sculpture of a smooth cylindrical freestanding pillar rising up from a leaf-shaped base as in Brihadeshwara, Tanjore, or the Chandramaleshwara temple at Ankal, Karnataka. In the 12th century, in the land which is now called the state of Karnataka, lived a man called Basva who encouraged everyone to worship the formless, limitless divine in the form of a personal image, the Ishtalinga, placed in an amulet and tied around the neck. The Ishtalinga had no particular form and reminded Basva of the formless divine. He believed that by adoration of this idea through the formless form of the linga, humans would be able to break free from all divisions created by man on the basis of lineage, gender, profession or wealth. He inspired the Lingayat and Virshaiva movements. Only humans can conceptualize the idea of infinity. Only humans can communicate such an abstract idea using various forms such as words and symbols. This is because humans are blessed with imagination. It is the one thing that separates us humans from animals. Humans can imagine because we have a highly developed brain, the cerebrum, with an especially large frontal lobe. This anatomical difference separates us from the rest of nature. So much so that in Sankhya, the Indian school of metaphysics, humanity or Purusha is seen as being separate from nature or Prakriti. This difference is seen as fundamental in the study of metaphysics. Because humans can imagine, the notion of a reality beyond the senses, a reality beyond nature, has come into being. Without the cerebrum there would be no imagination, and hence no notion of God. In nature, all things have form. Each of these forms is limited by space and time. To sustain these forms one has to feed and one has to procreate. Eventually all forms are destroyed and replaced by new forms. Nature is thus a self-sustaining, predictable wheel of events where forms come and go. Only humans can imagine a world where all these rules are subverted, a world without forms, a world without limitations, a world without the need for action, or the obligation to experience a reaction, a transcendental world beyond feeding and procreating, creating and destroying, a still world, with no restlessness, only serenity, only bliss. In other words, humans can imagine a world beyond nature. This idea is contained in the linga. In many temples of India, a head or multiple heads are carved on the linga stone, or a brass mask representing a head covers the linga stone. This head is identified with Shiva. It is a reminder of the human head that is unique from all other heads in the animal kingdom. It houses the highly developed brain that can imagine and hence forge a path to the divine. This is the very same reason that sacred marks are placed on the forehead of devotees to remind them of the critical role our brain, hence our imagination, plays in defining our humanity. From imagination comes our vision of the world, our vision of our future, and most importantly our vision of ourselves, who we are and what we want to be. These visions may have nothing to do with the reality of the natural world around us. They may be improvements on what we remember or have been told. It is imagination that makes us realize that we are distinct from nature. In other words, imagination makes us self-aware. It is also imagination that makes us feel unique because no two humans can imagine the same thing. Imagination therefore makes us wonder about who we are, compelling us to analyze, synthesize, create and communicate. It is our imagination that will not allow us to stagnate. It propels us to improve. It propels us to grow. In Sanskrit, the sound brh means to grow, to swell, to expand and enlarge. From this sound come two very critical ideas, Brahman and Brahma. The former is a concept found in the Vedas, and the latter is a character found in the Puranas. Vedas are the earliest sacred scriptures of Hinduism and are full of abstract hymns containing esoteric concepts. The Puranas were written later and use stories and characters to make those esoteric concepts more accessible. The Vedic Brahman is a neuter noun, which means the vast, the boundless, and the infinite. Puranic Brahma is a proper noun referring to a form of God that is, very peculiarly and significantly, not worshipped. The Hindu idea of God is rather complex. It cannot be explained without referring to goddess. Most people, using the notion of God in the Bible as template, do not appreciate this and hence get confused. Goddess is nature and God is how nature is perceived by the human imagination. When the perception is incomplete and inaccurate, God is not worshipped as in the case of Brahma. When the perception is complete and accurate, God is worshipped as in the case of Shiva and Vishnu. In fact, when perception is complete and accurate, the divide between God and goddess collapses. There is only one. That one is Brahman. Brahma is God yearning for perfection, that is the Brahman. Hence the Vedic maxim, Aham Brahmasmi, which means both I am Brahma meaning I am finite, as well as I am Brahman meaning I am infinite. Every human being is the process of moving from the finite to the infinite, from Brahma to Brahman, on the path forged by the imagination. The neuter Brahman is also called the Nirguna Brahman or the formless divinity. To be worshipped it needs to become Saguna, or possess a form. Brahma is God who creates all forms, hence is called the creator, but he has not yet found the perfect form and is still yearning and searching, making him unworthy of worship. Vishnu is God who has realized that no form is perfect and so works with the limited forms. This is why he is called the preserver and is worshipped in various forms. Shiva is God who breaks free from all forms, having found all of them limited, hence he is the destroyer who is worshipped as the linga. Devotees need form to understand and seek the formless through Saguna is realized the Nirguna. Hence they turn to stories, symbols, and rituals of Shiva and Vishnu. Shiva is Hara, who is indifferent to form, while Vishnu is Hari, who is appreciative of form. In medieval times, there was much rivalry between devotees of Shiva and Vishnu as they showed preference for either Hara or Hari. Wisdom lies in breaking free from all differences, divisions and limitations so that infinity may be realized. One day, Brahma and Vishnu were quarreling. Brahma claimed, "I created the world. I must be God." Vishnu retorted, "That you seek validation means you cannot be God." "Then who is God?" Brahma demanded to know. In response, a pillar of fire appeared between them. It stretched up beyond the dome of the sky and down below the foundations of the earth. And the fire seemed to be burning without any fuel. Both Brahma and Vishnu decided to look for the ends of this pillar of fire. Brahma took the form of a swan and flew up to find its top. Vishnu took the form of a boar and dug his way down, determined to find its base. Brahma flew for months and years, but there was no sign of the tip of the fiery pillar. Vishnu dug for months and years, but there was no sign of the base of the fiery pillar. Finally, exhausted, the two returned to share their findings. "This pillar of fire has no base," admitted Vishnu. "It is endless and infinite." Brahma, however, lied. "I found the tip. I even found ketki flowers on it. I have done what you could not do. I am greater than you. I must therefore be God." As soon as Brahma said this, the pillar of fire burst open and out came another god, who looked like a mendicant, smeared with ash and wrapped in animal skins. "Liar," he shouted, pointing to Brahma. "You lie so that you can delude the world with your lies so as to dominate everyone around you and feel powerful. You are not God." He then turned to Vishnu and smiled, "You admit the truth. You are humble enough to accept limitations. You are curious to know what lies beyond the horizon. You are not intimidated by uncertainty or afraid of ignorance. You are in the process of becoming God." Brahma trembled and bowed to this self-assured being. Vishnu watched him in awe. The mendicant identified himself. "If the formless can be given a form, then I am he. I am God, I am Shiva." Since that day the stone pillar or linga is worshipped by all, a reminder of the pillar of flames that appeared between Brahma and Vishnu. Those who look at this stone image as merely a stone image are like Brahma, people who lack imagination and who do not yearn for wisdom. Those who look at this stone image as a symbolic container of an idea are like Vishnu, people with imagination who yearn for the truth that exists beyond the tangible. In nature, everything has a beginning and an end. In nature, fire needs fuel. The idea of a pillar without beginning nor end, made of fire that needs no fuel, can exist only in the imagination and is hence worthy of representing reality that is transcendental, existing beyond the senses. In order to communicate the idea of spiritual reality, one needs symbols. One depends on nature to provide these symbols. But all things in nature are bound by natural laws, hence inherently unsuitable to express the idea of spiritual reality. So one selects those symbols that are less fettered by natural laws, at least in perception. The pole star, for example, is the only celestial body in the sky that does not move at all. It appears fixed. All the stars and the planets move around it. The pole star serves as the symbol of a world where nothing changes, nothing ages or dies. The direction marked by the pole star becomes the direction of aspiration, the direction of spiritual reality. "In the north lives Shiva," said the wise. No one has seen the birth of a mountain or the death of a mountain. No one has seen a mountain move. Mountains thus represent the stability and stillness of spiritual reality. Shiva is imagined as living on a mountain. This mountain is located under the pole star in the north. This mountain is called Kailas. It is covered by snow, water that does not move. Shiva is visualized seated under the banyan tree. Roots of this tree emerge from branches and anchor themselves in the ground and eventually become so thick that it becomes difficult to differentiate the trunk from the roots. One does not know where the tree starts and where the tree ends, like the limitless pillar of fire. It also has an unusually long life, making it appear almost indestructible, defying the laws of nature. That makes it a symbol for Shiva. Shiva, who emerged from the limitless pillar of fuel-less fire, is therefore visualized sitting under the pole star, on a snow-capped mountain, in the shade of a banyan tree. Through this form, the idea of spiritual reality is communicated. The earliest followers of Shiva were mendicants who lived outside human settlements, in forests, and moved around with matted hair, smeared with ash, naked or dressed in animal hide, carrying cups made of gourds or skulls, and bearing a staff. These were hermits, people who chose not to be part of culture. These men were not interested in marriage or children or society or worldly life. They were interested only in realizing the infinite. The leader of these men was called Lakulish, meaning the bearer of the staff, or Lakula. It is not clear whether Lakulish was the name of a man or a title. Eventually, it became one of Shiva's many names. The Lakula referred to two things that are seen in Lakulish images, either the staff or the erect manhood. Maybe it refers to both. Lakulish images on ancient temple walls have faded over time. Typically he sports an erect penis, holds a staff in his hand and his eyes are shut. Ancient Indian artists used the male body to represent the mind. This is because the male genitalia, unlike female genitalia, shows dramatic visual transformation between states of non-arousal and arousal. A flaccid penis indicates an unstirred mind. An erect penis represents a stirred mind. The spurting of semen offers a very visual metaphor to show the submission of the mind to external stimulus. Eyes represent the senses. When the man's eyes are shut and his penis is flaccid, it indicates a mind that refuses to submit to external stimulus. When the man's eyes are shut and his penis is erect, as in case of Lakulish, it indicates a mind that is stirred by an internal stimulus. Lakulish's erection is not a product of sensations since he has blocked out all external stimuli. His bodily response is not dependent on a cause, it is causeless, it is not a reaction to something. That is why his aroused penis is considered self-created or self-stirred, Swayambhu, hence worthy of adoration. Through imagination one can experience everything from zero to infinity. Animals and plants do not have this ability, they depend on stimulations and memory. Humans have the power to block all stimulations that stir the mind and purge all memories that contaminate the mind, thereby experiencing imagination that is pure and pristine. This experience is the experience of pure consciousness. Realization of this infinite power of the human imagination over nature's reality is expressed in the self-stirred erect phallus of Lakulish. Lakulish's staff indicates the human ability to master the mind, stop it from responding to external stimuli, enabling it to cleanse the mind of all memories and prejudices. By doing this, the hermit outgrows dependence on things outside himself for happiness. Liberated from the confines of nature, He becomes master of his own contentment by discovering the infinite possibilities of imagination. Hence, the staff in his hand, symbol of power, authority and autonomy. The self-stirred phallus of Lakulish is a physical expression of an idea known as Sat Chitta Ananda, which means tranquility Ananda that follows when the mind Chitta discovers the truth of nature and of the human condition Sat by purging itself of all memories and prejudice. According to the alchemical principles of body, the body's energy is utilized whenever the mind engages with the material world around. To replenish these, we need food, water and breath constantly. As the body is used to generate more energy, it ages and eventually dies. However, when the mind withdraws from material reality, it does not depend on nature anymore. It does not need to be fed. It generates heat autonomously without fuel. This is tapa, spiritual fire that does not need fuel, unlike Agni that is material fire which needs fuel. Tapa cleanses the mind, purges all memories and prejudices so that it experiences Sat Chitta Ananda. It makes the body radiant, youthful and prevents it from aging. Tapasya is the process of lighting this fire. Lakulish and his followers were tapaswins, fire-churning ascetics. Tapaswins hold Prakriti in disdain because everything in nature is mortal. They seek immortality. In nature, everything is limited by space and time and restricted by form. The tapaswin wants to break free from all limitations, expand into infinity, achieve what is called siddha, the ability to acquire whatever he desires, not be fettered by gravity. And so the tapaswin seeks to fly in the air and walk on water, expand and contract his size, change his shape. He seeks independence from nature. Withdrawing from nature is the first step in this process. Detached from nature, a tapaswin feels no pain, hears no sound, sees no image, tastes no flavor and smells no odor. In art, tapaswins are shown as seated in cross-legged positions with creepers around their feet, termite hills over their bodies and serpents slithering around their necks. These men are intellectually, emotionally and physically liberated from all things material. Tapaswins look inwards in their quest for independence and infinity. This inward gaze away from material world is called nivritti marga, while the outward materialistic gaze is called pravritti marga. The inward gaze seeks the seed from where the tree comes, the outward gaze seeks the fruit of the tree. That is why Shiva is always bedecked with the seeds of the Rudraksh tree. Rudraksh literally means the gaze of Shiva. In contrast, Vishnu, patron of the outward gaze, is bedecked with leaves and flowers. Shiva is the greatest tapaswin. He spends no heat engaging with the outside world. All the heat he generates remains contained within his body. Naturally, the world around Shiva, unseen by him, gradually loses all heat and becomes cold. As a result, water stills and turns to snow. His mountain becomes Himalaya, the abode of snow. The tapaswin practices celibacy, refuses to have sex with women and father children. Thus he destroys his family tree voluntarily. No other living creature can do this. Plants are bound by nature to bear fruit and seed. Animals are bound by nature to mate. Humans are the only creatures for whom reproduction is a choice. A male hermit represents the rejection of that choice. He cannot be forced to make a woman pregnant. Women can be hermits and also refuse to bear children, but they cannot be used to represent the idea of disengagement from the material world because the female body can be forced to bear a child. Artists used the male body to represent the voluntary mind and the female body to represent involuntary nature. If all males chose not to procreate, one can imagine the end of the human race. Humans are the only creatures who can voluntarily make themselves extinct if the men choose not to act on desire. The male gender of Lakulesh is thus indicative of choice. Shiva strings the seeds of the Rudraksh around his neck, instead of sowing them under the ground. Thus he prevents germination. Thus the Rudraksh Mala or chain of Rudraksh beads represents celibacy. In Tantric physiology, it is said that men have white seed sperms in semen and women have red seed ovum in menstrual blood. The two seeds fuse to create a child. The followers of Shiva believed that so long as the flow of seed is downward, living creatures will remain mortal. Plants and animals cannot control their urge to spill their seed. Women have no control over their red seed. Their menstrual cycle is fettered to nature's rhythms like the waxing and waning of the moon and the movement of the tides. Only the human male has the power to control the movement of his white seed. It can flow downwards in pleasure or to procreate. This results in mortality. It can be made to flow upwards with yoga. This generates wisdom, ignites the spiritual fire of tapa and results in immortality. This upward movement of semen is described in Tantra as urdhavritas. Reverse movement of the semen is also a metaphor for the reversal of the senses so that they pay attention less to the material reality outside and more to the spiritual reality inside. This reverse movement is also known as the northern movement towards the pole star, in contrast to the southern movement out of the body, which results in children, family and social responsibilities. It is depicted in art as an erect phallus in a tapasvin whose eyes are shut. Shiva's holy city, Kashi, is located at a bend in the river Ganga where it turns and moves northwards instead of southwards. This reverse flow of the river is a reminder of what the human mind can do. Only the human mind, blessed with imagination, can challenge the laws of nature, withdraw from it and even break free from it. This is moksha or liberation. Shiva Linga then is thus at once the self-stirred phallus of the tapasvin, the reverse flow of his semen, the burning of tapa, the endless pillar of fire and the form of the formless divine. This is the stanu, the still pillar of consciousness, the fountainhead of imagination, around which nature dances. And with that line this piece comes to an end. The end. I hope you liked this video. If so, then do like and share this video. And if you are new to this channel, then hit the subscribe button for future updates. See you folks in the next video.